Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik from Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and check it out. I'm in Bend, Oregon. Why am I here? I have a surprise for all of you. Look at this. This is the last operational Blockbuster in the world. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go inside, and for one last time in this decade, the decade that took Blockbuster away from us, I am going to have a Blockbuster night.
Well, alright everybody, it is time to do a trip down memory lane here. And man, this was an intense video to make from my perspective, to find a functional Blockbuster. It's not the same as that time if you see here. This is an abandoned Blockbuster I found in Ashland, Kentucky. Unlike that one, this one in Bend, Oregon is actually fully operational. It's open, it does regular store hours, and it's such a strange experience, especially this year. I mean, if you're not familiar, in 2019, Blockbuster actually became kind of relevant again for the first time in a long time. There was this span of like 1 or 2 weeks. You can see me there going inside and just trying to get the experience of going ahead into a Blockbuster again. See, they keep up-to-date movies and everything in there, and we're gonna do this tour inside of the place, you know, and go down memory lane here. But back to what I was saying though, there was a point this year where there were still 5 active Blockbusters. And then the movie Captain Marvel came out. Now, they actually acknowledged that movie in this Blockbuster, which you'll see later, because there's a scene in that movie that helps kind of date the movie, where Captain Marvel crashes into a Blockbuster, and then, you know, it's the 90s, right? Well, in the same week that happened and Blockbuster was back in the news for that, the other 4 Blockbusters left in the world shut down. There was one in Alaska, which people commonly think that that's the last one, but no, that one doesn't exist anymore. And then there were actually 3 in Australia, and all of them shut down. So that actually makes this one the last one in the world. And by the way, this is their video game section, PS4 and Xbox One stuff. That's all they've got, but we'll get back to that kind of stuff later. So they now own the fact that they're the last Blockbuster. They're fully operational. Like I said before, they have a whole bunch of information on memberships, and they keep up to date with new releases and all that kind of stuff. And man, I mean, where to even start with something like this? Like, this is something that, to someone like me, my generation, you know, I'm 32 years old, I'm about to be 33. And I grew up on Blockbuster, man. Like, I know to a lot of, especially younger viewers, they're not going to see, like, why this was so significant. But to us, you know, there was no streaming. There was nothing like that back in the day. So you would go into a store like this, and you'd, you know, check out what was in stock. And it was partially an experience. You know, I mean, it wasn't just the act of getting a movie. There's the Captain Marvel thing, by the way. They have a little museum there, along with some actual, like, movie props and stuff. But it wasn't just the act of, you know, getting a movie. It was what they, you know, lovingly called a Blockbuster night. And, you know, you would go there, and that would be part of your evening. You know, you would go in and you would want to wander around and look at all the new stuff that was out. And you would see all the new releases, and you'd read about them, and you knew you could only probably get like 1 or 2 if you were lucky. Maybe it would be a movie, maybe it would be a video game, depending on, you know, who you are and what your interests were. But typically that's how it went, you know, and then whatever you got, that's kind of what you had. So you had to be won over by the cases and the artwork and the description and all that type of stuff, or just word of mouth. You know, you'd heard about this movie from your friends, your family, whatever. And it was a social thing. You know, you would go in there typically with, you know, your family or friends or whatever, and you'd have to come up with some sort of decision, you know. And I really miss that. Like, that's the thing. Like, Yesterday is an appropriate title right there, because man, like, I got serious nostalgia walking around this place, and I just kept sitting there thinking, like, I really miss this. Like, I really miss the Blockbuster night. I miss going in and doing everything I just described to you. But, you know, there's been plenty of people that say, like, you know, Blockbuster, and they've kind of said it best, Blockbuster was a product of its time. It fulfilled a necessity in the age in which it existed that no longer is necessary. Nostalgic and awesome, sure, but not necessarily required anymore in modern society, which is, of course, why they're really not around. Obviously, things, a lot of their competitors like Hollywood Video didn't survive either. Oddly enough, Family Video is still around. But as you can see, this is a fully operational Blockbuster. There's my buddy Jesse, who was filming a lot of the footage, so thank you to him. But this one, man, like, if you can make the pilgrimage to Bend, Oregon, which is like 3 hours south of Portland, Oregon, then if you care at all about that and you just kind of want to go experience Blockbuster again, like, it's still there. You still have that chance. And the funny thing is, Blockbuster, people talk about it like it, was a really long time ago, and look, they're right there. They're sitting there actively just, taking movies that were dumped into the drop-off thing. Like, it's a constant flowing business there. And we'll get back to that in a second. But people talk about Blockbuster like it went out of business in the early 90s or something. It was 2012. And funny enough, the last movie ever rented at Blockbuster in its official sense was actually rented in Honolulu, because of time zones, at 11:59 p.m. And the last movie that was ever rented was the movie This Is the End, which was probably the most appropriate tweet ever, because the Blockbuster Corporation tweeted about it. So you're probably asking, well, if that's the case, then what's with the rest of these? They were all independently owned franchise options. Like, they're not necessarily the original Blockbuster. They use the name, but that's pretty much all they are. So it's just fascinating. But I mean, Blockbuster, like, for example, was still relevant in Mexico only a few years ago. If you collect amiibos, the Falco amiibo was actually exclusive to Blockbuster down there, as strange as that is. So I gotta say, man, it was just absolutely surreal to go in there. There's a documentary coming up about this, about the last Blockbuster. But I really had an absolutely wonderful time in there. I ended up buying a lot of merch, and to their credit, this one really owns the fact that they are the last one. Apparently the city of Bend, Oregon, took pride in this. They decided to buy the building to help kind of shield the place from possibly going out of business. So it's going to be around for a while, hopefully. They have this nice little museum in there too, full of all sorts of Blockbuster merch. I was actually hoping to find some sort of video games, like a Sega Genesis game or something that had a Blockbuster logo on it that I could maybe donate, but I didn't come up with that. People kept asking, like, did they rent old games and Laserdiscs and VHS? It's like, no, they're trying to stay as relevant as they can. They still have DVDs and Blu-rays of new releases. And, you would think, like, okay, that's like interesting novelty. But the weird thing is, there was a lot of people in there. It was actually kind of hard to film footage. There was constantly people dropping off movies, picking up movies. That's like I said, when you had the bin there. I'm really happy to see that this place is still functional, and to them it's, not any sort of strange thing. And as you can see me here, like, probably for the last time in my life, I'm going to be, wandering around a Blockbuster trying to pick that movie or that piece of entertainment that's going to, get me out of there and I'm going to go enjoy. So, yeah, it was cool to be able to go ahead and experience that one more time.
Picked up a bunch of merch. I had to support it. I got these, like, cool cups. They buy this thing called Silipint. I don't know. They told us you can microwave with them, you can bake them, you can freeze them. It doesn't matter. They hold whatever type of drinks. I got this poster for this movie that I guess is going to be about this place, the last Blockbuster. And on top of that, I got a T-shirt because I had to get a T-shirt. It was just really cool. The front is, the Blockbuster logo, right, like that. And then the back just says, like, the last Blockbuster on Earth and all this stuff. It looks really cool. And I had to rent a video. So I signed up. I actually got a Blockbuster membership. I have a new Blockbuster membership card. I used it and I rented Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And what we're going to do is my buddy Jesse and I are going to go out. We're going to watch it now and see if it was just as big of a piece of crap as I remember.
I wanted to give an honorary mention to the other Blockbuster left, sort of. What you're seeing here is a kiosk basically full of movie rentals. This is actually available at a convenience store in the U.S. Naval Base in Yokosuka, Japan. I took this photo. I've been there. Didn't rent anything, but technically Blockbuster sort of has a presence there, and that's still sort of American soil, so interestingly, there's kind of two, but not really. I just wanted to give it an acknowledgement because technically it's there.
All right, so I just came back from watching this again. I got to enjoy one more Blockbuster night in my lifetime. It's incredible. The movie wasn't. It was still just as bad as I remember it, but it's still a fun experience to actually be able to do that. So now, very appropriately, I picked Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which right on the back here actually says, "Long live the King." I say long live the king of movie rentals. I know it's just a crazy experience, but it's still awesome. I wish these guys the best. I hope they can last much longer. right on into the next decade so we can say, hey, Blockbuster technically lived into the 2020s. That would just be cool. But now, possibly for the last time ever, it's time for me to put this in the Dropbox and return it. And I just had to come inside and do one more look around, and I'm an idiot, and I had no choice. I had to buy a hoodie. It's awesome. See, it's active. Blockbuster is actually functional here. It's got the front logo there, and on the back, it's got Last Blockbuster on it. Same design as a t-shirt, but I just had to do it because it was really cool. So if you ever get the chance to come out to Bend, Oregon, you should check out the Last Blockbuster. It's absolutely awesome just to have the opportunity to do it. We actually ran into some people who recognize me because we're going on this way to Portland Retro Game Expo. Just crazy. It's been an awesome experience. So you guys, thanks for watching the video. If you could like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.